Hi, welcome to PRSA Nashville's Diversity Chat. I'm Ivy Johnson, Diversity Chair for our chapter. This is an online discussion about diversity and inclusion initiatives in the communications industry. Today we will discuss tips for college students and recent graduates that are entering the PR and communications workforce. Let's see. Please send your comments and questions during the live feed. Just a quick announcement before I introduce our guests. On October 29th, 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m., PRSA Nashville's monthly luncheon will be at Amerigo. This luncheon will feature a panel on how to be ADA compliant in public relations and the services you offer. Please look out for more details on PRSA Nashville's website, social media, and email blasts. Today, our guest is Liann Cates.
Hello.
Hi, thank you for coming. A little bit about Liann. She's a sales and marketing coordinator at emids, a global provider of healthcare technology expertise and consulting services. She has journalism, public relations, and digital marketing background from Samford University in Birmingham, Alabama. Her background includes marketing the largest physician-owned pain management group in the U.S. Be sure to connect with Liann Cates on LinkedIn. Liann, thank you for being here today.
Yes, thank you for having me.
So let's jump right in.
Yes.
How did you first hear about the communications slash public relations industry, and what made you interested in it?
So I actually went to Samford in Birmingham originally for nursing. So I did not have PR on my radar at all. I really did not know what that meant. And so with that healthcare interest from nursing, that clearly did not work out because here I am. And so when I switched my major, it was about halfway through. And the reason that I decided to look at public relations, it was through our journalism department at Samford. And so when I was realizing that nursing was not the right fit for me, I started looking at all the campus activities that I did enjoy and just kind of where a more natural fit might be. And I thought about giving Samford tours and my sorority, AD Pi stuff, just different events and the marketing behind all of that. I realized that is where I thought my interest was. And when I looked at the journalism program, it had the right fit with a public relations concentration.
Cool. You're the second person I heard this week that originally wanted to be in healthcare and realized that's not for me and switched to public relations. So I see a trend.
Yes.
Let's see. Why did you pursue a career in public relations slash communications? And you just mentioned it, but can you elaborate more?
Yes, so I realized that I really liked storytelling, and clearly I like to talk. And so within that, from different internships around Birmingham and from the foundational classroom kind of stuff, I realized with that healthcare interest that I really liked hearing about patient success stories and telling those patient stories. So that is where my interest came into play with the patient experience. And then all within the healthcare niche, that storytelling of not only the success stories but of the families and hearing the stories that come out of everything that this industry has to offer, that is what I realized that I enjoyed being part of.
Gotcha. What campus activities did you participate in during college that helped you in your career today?
Yes, so even though it's just 2 short years ago as a 2017 grad, it does feel like a lifetime ago, and I have to think back about it, but I mentioned I was a tour guide, and that was a big part in why I realized that I liked journalism. I loved hearing about these families and these prospective students and what drew them to the school in that situation. And within that, I ended up making connections and making industry connections, believe it or not, and so between a mix of student government stuff, my sorority, AD Pi stuff, and then the tour guide stuff, it really exposed me to the next level of what was outside of campus and not just what was outside of Homewood, which is where Samford sits outside of Birmingham, or just right outside of Birmingham, but just really the network that Birmingham had to offer. So it just made me take a step back and realize, because it's so easy as a student to get caught in all the campus stuff. Yeah. And as great as it is, it's a wonderful 4 years. There is life after that. And so just thinking forward and just kind of what setting I wanted to be in and all of that, I would definitely say that after having a great experience in the classroom with my professors in that department and everything, the internships and just the connections outside of that took it to the next level.
Cool, cool. Good stuff. It reminds me of, I was in business fraternities, and I did internships at country music stations, and I got to study abroad, and took all that back in 2009 for me to realize, okay, I like public relations.
Yes.
Cool, cool. Next question. How did you land your first job in the PR communications industry?
Yes, so my first job brought me here to Nashville 2 years ago. So I moved up here 2 weekends after my graduation, which was a whirlwind. So it's through a LinkedIn connection. So it was through a family friend. I will say most of the opportunities that have come my way, whether they worked out or not, all came from who I knew. And so I will say that is very true. I moved to Birmingham, going to a school out of state. I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia, so go Dogs. But I did not know anybody going to school, and I did not know anybody coming up here to Nashville post-grad. So from that, it's okay if you don't know anybody when you put yourself in a new setting. But from there, I grew my network from going to different luncheons and events like PRSA as a student. And it's okay to do that. I know it can be a little scary, but people love to, or in my experience, people love to mentor students and just have those one-on-one conversations or go to coffee, go to lunch, whatever the case was. But I'll answer the question. But back to how I got the first job it was still through Connect. And then from that, it was actually over my senior year spring break. So I did not have the fun beach vacay, but I was interviewing, and that is how all that happened. And so it worked out well, and I had a great experience there for about a year in the pain management world, like you mentioned when you introduced me.
Well, that's how I got my job here, is through networking.
Okay.
So, guys, sometimes it's about your skills, but it's also about who you know, because they will help you get your foot in the door to show the skills. Because if you don't know how to network, it's not helpful to your career.
And I will say to that, not everybody is going to say yes, of course.
Yes.
I will say one of the most important things I learned last year was with no's, whether it be a job you're applying for, an internship, something you're volunteering at, just whenever things don't work out, every no is still an opportunity. It's an opportunity to meet new people, put yourself in a new place, and just challenge yourself. So even though, in a sense, it's still rejection, once you get over that hump, you just realize that, well, that job might not have been the right fit, but if you both, that employer and you both have the same interests, you could be in PRSA together or in different organizations on another board. So you just never know, even though if it's a no in that moment.
That's true. Don't let the no's keep you down. Let's see. Are there any activities that you are doing now that keeps you up to date in the industry? For example, workshops or reading articles or networking events or different organizations?
Yes. So aside from PRSA, I will say, within that, APR, Accredited Public Relations Professional, right? I'd get the acronym mixed
Accreditation
up.
Public Relations. Yeah, I just started it. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So PRSA Nashville actually does either monthly luncheons, meetings, whatever it is, to help those that are going through that process or interested in that process to get up to speed on not only the textbook foundational stuff, but just overall getting you prepared to have that accreditation. So while I am a couple years out and not ready for that, I still actually went to a lot of those meetings last year because even though I had just gotten out of the classroom, number one, I was familiar because getting thrown into the real world is a lot.
Yes.
And so also just being able to network with people outside or in a casual setting and just kind of outside of official meeting or luncheon or anything like that, that was fun, I guess, to network in that way. But also, it's basically like a free lesson in person from all these mentors. So I would say that helped me a lot, just kind of getting my feet under me and just making sure this is what I wanted to do. So between luncheons and everything like that, within PRSA, I'm in healthcare IT. So within that specific niche, there are some networking organizations and just overall professional organizations in that provider and payer space that you mentioned that I was in. And then I will also add onto that for Sanford and Birmingham, where I went to school, we do have an alum chapter here. Okay. And so we do seasonal events between young professionals and overall alum in town. And so that's been fun to still connect with people that I did not meet while I was at school, either because we just didn't cross paths or different ages.
Gotcha. Good stuff, good stuff. By the way, it's 12:09, and I believe our local APR coordinator is having a Skype right now about the accreditation and public relations as we speak. It's on the Facebook post, so if you want to run over there and learn about the APR process, go ahead and do it, because it's a journey. I'm enjoying it slightly. So, next question. What advice, well, no. As opposed to what you learned in college, what surprised you about working in this industry?
Yes, so I kind of knew it, but didn't know it till I was in it. The versatility of, number one, having a journalism degree, but number two, having the knowledge of public relations and comms, I did not realize where that could take somebody. So, first of all, every industry, whether they know it or not, does need communications. I'm a big advocate for having a crisis communications plan, so shout out to Liann Cates. So, and not just being preventative, but overall, I would say I was just so surprised of where communications can be integrated in businesses efficiently. So whether it is in your sales process or business development, communicating with your C-suite, internal communication is just as important as external.
Yes.
And so I know you're probably hearing a lot of what you might hear in class right now, but it is true. Your professors have experienced this, and so I would say just the fact that it is so broad across an organization, or can be, just how important it is, because that monthly newsletter or whatever you might get exposed to as an intern, all of those little pieces do add up to that larger plan. And I would just encourage anybody to keep asking those questions of, why are we doing this, or why am I at this internship learning this one skill, because all of that will ladder up towards the end.
Good stuff. Let's see. What advice do you have for current students and new communications professionals as yourself that prepare them to enter the workforce?
I'd say two different pieces of advice for each audience. So students, internships. So it doesn't have to be anything fancy or the biggest name in town. I would say don't do something just because it looks good on your resume. Do something that you're interested in. Figure out what you like, what you don't like outside of the classroom when you're not being graded. What do you want to wake up and do 9 to 5, whatever it is, and what your livelihood will depend on after graduation. Really think about, do you like healthcare? Do you like nonprofit, et cetera? Or do you want to be in that higher education setting on your college campus, because there's comms there too. So I would say, as much as you can have a variety of your experience, that can only help you grow your network, grow your exposure, grow your experience. And looking back, I thought, from my experience in Birmingham, I've seen a lot. No, I think I dipped my pinky toe in the water in terms of that. And so I would say just vary your experience, vary the people that you meet. As a student, I mentioned I went to PRSA meetings in Birmingham. Birmingham also has Rotary and Rotaract. They have AMA, they have PRCA, they have all these organizations, and not to overload yourself and miss class and to deprioritize things that are important. But if you have the time and you have the drive to go and meet those professionals, I will say part of why I did that was I didn't know if I wanted to stay in Birmingham, so I knew that by doing those things, that's probably what it would look like as a young professional there. So I wanted to get a feel for that, for the size of that city versus something else. Being from Atlanta, I kind of knew what to expect if I were to go back there, so I just kind of wanted to compare it to a little bit of a smaller town. And then I would say advice for new communications professionals. I mentioned I moved to Nashville not knowing anybody, so it was scary, but also the best decision I've ever made. And so I think with that, I reached out to PRSA Nashville people because that was the only connection I could make. I just kind of, I think I even might have emailed you and said, hey, I'm from PRSA Birmingham. I'm moving here. What's going on in PRSA Nashville? So just finding that starting point, I I would say, and you don't have to meet people in these fancy networking settings. You could meet them at church or in an elevator. Don't discount the elevator conversations.
Yes.
You never know.
You never know.
Especially in this town. And so I think with that, just have an open mind. And again, remember that every no is an opportunity. So I'll just take that with a grain of salt.
Gotcha. And I was so impressed when I got that email from you. I was like, I wish I did that when I got out of college, because I was just very impressed by that. That was a good
Thank you.
tactic. Let's see. And of course, this is a diversity chat, so I must ask a diversity-related question. As a minority communications professional, why do you think diversity and inclusion are important to the public relations communications industry?
Yes. So when I think of diversity, other than the obvious definition, I really think about diversity of thought, diversity of experience, diversity of perspective, because everybody will have a perspective, everybody will have an opinion. I do believe everyone's is valuable. However, when that is not represented in a room, I think long term it shows.
Yes.
And then in big decisions, public or not, I think that whether it's a comms plan, anything related to media relations, really. I think when diversity of thought is either represented physically in the room or represented throughout, I guess, a plan, with that you can tell. And
Yes.
so by that, I mean, when you look at whether it's a room of young professionals or a room at a PRSA luncheon, whatever it is, I definitely think that when I look at organizations that I'm either looking at going to their luncheon or being a part of or trying to meet people, I do look at that and think, okay, well, not what value can I get out of it, but what value is there in the room? You know, are there only perspectives of 24-year-olds like me, or are there only perspectives of those that are about to retire in 5 years? You know, I think either answer is okay, but I myself am more drawn to rooms when you do have kind of a room that runs the gamut between either experience, industry, perspective, whatever the case is. So that is what comes to mind for me. And then I would say why it is important. Like I said, it's important not only to be represented, but not only for the stats to put on a piece of paper, but for when you take action. So not everyone's going to think the same way, and to me, it's important to have those discussions, whatever the outcome might be, just to still have that conversation.
Gotcha. That's good stuff. Good stuff. Especially since I work in government, and in Nashville, sometimes we're very Middle Tennessee based, but just to help our customers and the people we serve, whether it's a business or a job seeker, we have to worry about East Tennessee, West Tennessee. So diversity of thought, there's region, there's age, there's abilities. Is so important when we're trying to create a plan and serve our customers in many different industries. So now it's time to see if we have any questions from our viewers. And again, if you are watching later after the chat happened, feel free to connect with us offline. I'm on LinkedIn, Ivy Johnson. She's on LinkedIn, Liann Cates. So if you have any questions, just feel free to send them now. Let's see. Patrice, is there any questions? Okay, and then we'll have just one more question, and then we might end this.
Sounds good.
Yes. Oh, there's comments. Let's see. Oh, my mom has a question, Patrice. Okay, I'll read it. By the way, Patrice Kendrick is my awesome coworker at the Tennessee Department of Labor. She's our Workforce Development Communications Coordinator or Manager, and she's running the live stream. So you may not can see her, but thank you, Patrice.
Thank you.
So my mom, Yvonne Chapman-Hendry, has sent in a question, and it's, what is your greatest regret as far as opportunities you did not take when preparing for your career? Oh, that's a good one,
Oh, I
Mom.
regret. Oh. Well, oh gosh, this put me on the spot. I would say, well, I hope that the people that have helped me along the way know that I appreciate them, but I'm not the best at, it's not saying thank you, but just more so showing that over time. It's, you know, as you move on from internship to internship or luncheon to luncheon, whatever it is, people whether they knew it or not, really helped me along the way, from either one-on-one conversations, just in those shadowing positions, just any really interaction to show me how you should probably be an adult, anything like that. I would say over time, I do try to keep up with people when I was a student back in Birmingham, from whether it's from Children's of Alabama or UAB School of Medicine, more of the healthcare orgs that really got me to where I am. And even with my first internship, I'm a big old school person on writing letters, and so I love fun postcards, and so I'll try to send those in the mail every now and then to different places that help me along the way. So I would say, I don't know if it's a regret, but I do hope that they know that I still do think of them. It wasn't just a stepping stone to get to post-grad or even graduation for that matter. And I hope they know that those foundational skills that I learned through each different role, because that's something that I did try to do. I tried to expose myself to what was traditional marketing or traditional agency, or whatever it was. But yes, I did take all of that with me, and almost daily I think about, oh wow, they were right about that. So I just hope that you all know back in Birmingham that I truly appreciate it.
Sure. And I remember after we had coffee, after you reached out to me and you sent a card to my job, and I was like, this is so nice. It made my day. I was having a very bad day. So things like that, it does like help one to continue to network and connect with people.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you liked it.
Yes. Okay, it looks like Yvonne has another question.
Okay.
And then we're going to read one last question, and we're going to go to lunch. Now that you're in your profession, what would you suggest colleges add to their program to have them better reflect the real world? Oh, that is a good question.
Business 101.
Yes.
I will say, traditionally, at least from my experience, the way the public relations was set up in comms through our journalism program, the business school was completely separate. I think schools are hopefully realizing that needs to be a little bit more integrated, and you hear the term interprofessional learning environments a lot within the healthcare space. But I think within PR and comms, to have that seat at the table, to have that foundational business knowledge, even for me right now, has been a challenge. Just in the fact that I wasn't exposed to it in the classroom throughout my time as I developed the PR skills. And so I would say, no, you don't need to know the ins and outs of how every single type of business works when you come into your first job, but just to understand where the priorities are of the C-suite, to understand really what pipeline means, and to understand where the business value proposition is, and not even that, just knowing what that word means. That was something, I think, just terminology that I'm still learning myself in day-to-day conversations. And so with that, something a healthcare organization in town, Nashville Healthcare Council, a segment off of that Leadership Healthcare Council put on a basically healthcare business 101. I think it was a half-day kind of course. And so things like that are definitely offered in town. You just kind of have to find them. So I would say, even though when you get 1, 2, 3 years out, don't discount the word entry level. That I think can be subjective. And so with that, find those one-on-one opportunities, 101 opportunities, brush up on your skills, or you just never know what the people you'll meet or what you're going to learn from that. So I would say that main functional element is something I'm learning on my feet, which I'm thankful for, but also do wish I had been exposed or found a way to expose myself to that before graduating.
Gotcha. Also, I missed it. Somebody left a comment, but I can't see their name. They said, thanks for hosting the Facebook live chat. Liann is a great role model for transitioning from PRSA to PRSA.
Oh, thank you to whoever you are.
Yeah, it's confusing. But I think I know who it is. Also, I was a PRSA member as well, but I think you took more advantage of it than I did.
So, yeah, with that, I did go to the conference as a student. I will say, if you have the opportunity to go, I know there's scholarships available for that, but that was my first conference setting ever. I didn't really fully grasp that concept.
Gotcha.
And yes, in that sense, we were networking with our peers. We were all in the same boat, pretty much on the same playing field of we're looking for a job. But beyond that factor, that taught me decorum and taught me, yes, I like to talk to people, but when you put 1,000 people in one room, you have to figure out what are you going to do with your time there. So just learning how to, I guess, act appropriately, but also to enjoy yourself in the moment. You've worked hard to get there, or to take time off work, or take time out of the classroom to go to conferences and go to professional development things. Yes, PRSA, did I say that right? Yeah. Our monthly luncheons or get-togethers on campus, whatever it was, just remember that you're all in this together. I think any industry, you can feel the heat with the competition, and if you're going after the same internships or going after the same jobs, just know it'll all work out as it should.
That's good stuff. What do you know now in your career that you wish you had known when you first started in this industry?
So for this one, again, it was something I think I kind of knew in the back of my mind, but didn't realize till it happened. But the worst people can say is no. And that's not as scary as it seems. And even in the moment, I can get in my own head and overthink things, and that's something I'm very self-aware of and working on right now. However, I think once you again realize that everyone puts on their pants the same way, the worst they can say is no. You just move on, and maybe it'll be yes in a month. So you don't know.
Gotcha. Good stuff. Because I encountered that. I'm 8 years in the industry, and hearing a no is still scary to me, but I have to remind myself, hey, it opens up another door, and
Yes.
like you said, overthink things, like just breathe, and that means you may work with that person in a different capacity in the future, or you may find somebody that fits better for that project, event, etc. So,
Yes.
well, that was our last question. Thank you for joining us today. Please visit PRSANashville.com for more information about upcoming events or workshops, or feel free to come to PRSA Facebook, Nashville's Facebook, for more opportunities. And also, don't forget, there's an October 29th luncheon at Amerigo about ADA compliance and public relations. And if you're just tuning in after the live is over, again, feel free to reach out to us, and have a great day.
Thanks.
Bye.